You know you should probably move on. Maybe they rejected you. Maybe the relationship ended. Maybe nothing ever really happened between you at all. And yet somehow they keep showing up in your mind. You replay conversations, you remember tiny details. You wonder what they are doing. You imagine what you would say if they suddenly came back. Sometimes you even create entire conversations that never happened. And the strangest part is that the harder you try not to think about them, the more your brain seems to bring them back. So why can one person become almost impossible to forget? Because your brain may not actually be obsessed with the person. It may be obsessed with what that person represents. Think about the people you interact with every day. You meet hundreds, maybe thousands of people throughout your life. Most of them disappear from your thoughts almost immediately. But occasionally, someone gets stuck. Your brain begins treating them differently. A message from them feels more important than other messages. Their attention changes your mood. Their silence changes it even more. You begin noticing when they are online. You remember exactly how they looked at you. A completely ordinary sentence they said 3 weeks ago suddenly feels like evidence in an investigation. And without realizing it, your brain starts building a story. This is where attraction can sometimes become something much more intense. Psychologists use the word limerence to describe an intense emotional fixation on another person. It can feel like falling deeply in love, but limerence often contains something that ordinary affection does not. Uncertainty. You do not completely know how they feel about you. Maybe they like you. Maybe they do not. Maybe they used to. Maybe they will again. That uncertainty can be incredibly powerful. Imagine 2 situations. In the first, someone clearly tells you they love you. They message you consistently. You know exactly where you stand. In the second, someone gives you attention one day and disappears the next. Sometimes they seem interested. Sometimes they seem distant. Occasionally they send you a message that gives you hope. Then nothing. Which person do you think your brain is more likely to analyze? Usually the second one, because certainty gives your brain an answer. Uncertainty gives it a problem, and the human brain hates unfinished problems. When something feels unresolved, your mind keeps returning to it. Did they mean what they said? Why did they stop replying? Did I do something wrong? Are they thinking about me too? Could things still happen? Every unanswered question keeps the person mentally alive. And sometimes one tiny piece of attention is enough to restart the entire cycle. Your phone lights up, you see their name, and suddenly your mood changes before you have even read the message. Your brain has learned that this person might produce something rewarding: attention, validation, excitement, hope, the possibility of connection. But notice the important word there: possibility. Sometimes the anticipation becomes more powerful than the actual relationship. You are not only reacting to what is happening, you are reacting to what might happen, and the brain is extremely good at chasing possibilities. It is the same reason unpredictable rewards can be so difficult to ignore. If someone gives you affection every single time you see them, the pattern becomes familiar. But if affection appears unpredictably, your brain keeps checking. Maybe today will be different. Maybe they will message. Maybe they finally realize they miss me. Maybe this time everything will work. And every maybe keeps the loop alive. But there is another reason someone can become impossible to stop thinking about: rejection. You might assume rejection would make attraction disappear. Sometimes it does, but sometimes the opposite happens. Someone becomes more desirable after they become unavailable. Suddenly, you want their attention more than you did before. Why? Because rejection does not only threaten the relationship, it can threaten your sense of value. Your brain may quietly transform the situation into a question about yourself. Why wasn't I enough? What did they choose instead? What could I have done differently? And now getting that person back begins to represent something bigger. Proof that you were desirable after all. Proof that you were worth choosing. Proof that the rejection was somehow a mistake. At that point, you may no longer be chasing only the person. You may be chasing relief from what their rejection made you feel. Part of you is trying to rewrite the ending, but your memories can make this even worse. Because memory is not a perfect recording of reality. Your brain does not store every moment equally. It selects, it reconstructs, it emphasizes certain details and lets others fade. After someone leaves your life, the frustrating parts of the relationship may slowly become less vivid. The arguments become fuzzy. The boredom becomes forgettable. The incompatibilities stop feeling important. But the powerful moments remain. That night you laughed for hours. The first time they touched your hand. The message that made your stomach drop. The way you felt when you thought something incredible might be beginning. And now your mind is comparing your present reality with a highlight reel. You're not always missing the full relationship. Sometimes you're missing its best moments. Or even more strangely, you may be missing a future that never happened. This is one of the most powerful parts of obsession. Humans do not only become attached to people, we become attached to possibilities. Maybe you imagine traveling together, living together, getting married, having children, growing old, or maybe it was much smaller. Maybe you just imagined finally getting the chance to be with them. The brain can emotionally invest in those imagined futures even when they never become real. So when the person disappears, you do not only lose them, you lose an entire future your brain had already started rehearsing. And it is difficult to grieve something that never technically existed. Because how do you get closure from a life that only happened inside your imagination? This is also why people sometimes become intensely attached to someone they barely know. Your brain fills in the missing information. You know a few things about them. Then your imagination completes the rest. You assume what they would be like in a relationship. You imagine how they would treat you. You imagine conversations. You imagine compatibility. And because the imagined version has never had the opportunity to disappoint you, it can become almost perfect. Real people are complicated. They are annoying sometimes. They get tired. They misunderstand you. They have habits you dislike. They say the wrong things. But the person inside your imagination behaves exactly the way your imagination needs them to, which creates a strange possibility. The person you cannot stop thinking about may not completely exist. The real person exists, but the version living inside your mind may be partly fictional, a mixture of memories, hopes, assumptions, and unfinished possibilities. And every time you replay that version, you strengthen it. There is another strange thing happening too. Trying not to think about someone can actually make the thought more persistent. Tell yourself, do not think about them. Your brain now has to check whether you're thinking about them, which requires briefly thinking about them. You try to push the memory away. Then a song plays, their name appears somewhere. You smell a familiar perfume. You drive past a place you visited together, and suddenly they are back. The world is filled with triggers because your brain connects memories with places, sounds, smells, emotions, and routines. That is why a person can disappear from your life while remaining almost everywhere in your environment. Your favorite restaurant remembers them, your playlist remembers them, your phone remembers them, sometimes even a certain time of day remembers them. But perhaps the most uncomfortable question is this: what exactly do you miss? Do you miss the person, or do you miss who you were when they were around? Maybe they made you feel attractive, interesting, wanted, safe, excited. Maybe your life felt less ordinary when they were part of it. And when they disappeared, those feelings seemed to disappear with them. So your brain keeps returning to the person because it wants the feeling back. Sometimes we say, I miss them, when what we really mean is I miss how I felt when I believed they wanted me. That difference matters. Because if the feeling came from inside your own brain once, then another person is not the only way to experience it again. Eventually, most intense fixations weaken. Not because you successfully force yourself to forget, but because the loop stops being fed. Fewer reminders, less checking, less fantasizing, less interpreting every tiny signal. New experiences begin competing with the old ones. The brain slowly learns that this person is no longer connected to an important future reward. And little by little, someone who once occupied your thoughts every hour might eventually cross your mind once a week, then once a month. Then one day you suddenly realize something strange. You have not thought about them in a long time, not because the memory disappeared, but because your brain finally stopped treating it like unfinished business. And maybe that is what moving on really is. Not deleting someone from your mind, not pretending they never mattered, not forcing yourself to hate them. It is reaching the point where your brain no longer needs anything from the memory. No answer, no message, no apology, no second chance, no imaginary future. The person can still exist in your past without controlling your present. And sometimes the person you could not stop thinking about was never meant to stay forever. Maybe they were simply the person who revealed how powerful your own mind can become when hope, uncertainty, memory, rejection, and imagination all attach themselves to the same human being.